Hey, everybody, it's James here. We're just going to get started in a few seconds, but want to welcome those of you who are just logging in. Great to have you guys here. We have a lot that we're going to cover today. And hey, do me a favor, just drop me a hi in the chat, open up your chat. I'm going to ask you many different times throughout this, our time together, just to engage with me. That'll make it more exciting for you. It certainly makes it more exciting for me instead of just, staring at my screen here. So yeah, just drop a hi, and yeah, great to see you guys for sure. Okay, well, on that note, let's go ahead and get started. So the inspirational manager, how to get out of the weeds and become the inspirational leader everyone wants to work for. So what we're going to cover today, it's an ambitious agenda, but I'm going to show you how to tap into the most powerful source of motivation on the planet. This is so important because so much of what we do as leaders is motivating people, right? I want to show you the scientifically backed drivers that make you an inspirational leader, right? Science has something to say about this. So we're going to cover that. I'm going to show you one simple activity that takes less than 15 seconds, yet is guaranteed to help you create a high-performing culture. You're going to love this. And then lastly, I'm going to show you one simple shift that turns your employees into passionate self-starters who take ownership of their work. How many people here, can't show your hands because we're not on camera, but you can type yes in the chat. How many people here would love it if all of their employees were passionate self-starters? In other words, like you hardly had to do anything. They were just working because they were so into it. How many would like that? Say yes, of course, right? That's what we're all shooting for. And then one more thing, I've got something that's a bit of a surprise to show you at the end, but we'll have to wait until we get there. Hey, for those of you who don't know me, maybe you came to this webinar through LinkedIn or you're not part of our leadership community, but my name is James Robbins, and for the last couple of decades, I have been teaching leaders, helping managers create high-performing cultures. I've been lucky enough to be able to speak all over the world. This is actually down in South America, where I got to open up for John Maxwell. I wrote a book called 9 Minutes on Monday. I'm going to be sharing some of the principles from that today. And yeah, leadership is definitely a journey. And I'll share a little bit about mine as we go. But before we go too much further, as Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank said, it is by execution and not by ideas that people succeed. So here's what I need from you today. Execution, right? If I share something that you think is helpful, that you think, hey, this would really work, I want you to put it into practice within the next 48 hours. All right. Can you promise me that if you find something that's helpful, you're going to execute it right away? Even if you don't do it perfectly, you're just going to execute. Can I get some yeses there? Okay. Awesome. Let's go ahead and dive in. So here's the thing. What I've learned over my career is that leadership actually isn't that complicated, but it's not easy, right? And so sometimes it can seem a little bit like an uphill battle. And I'm not sure how you came to become a leader. Like I never really wanted to be a leader. I just wanted to know what was going on in those manager meetings that I didn't get invited to, right? I always wanted to be in that meeting until I got to the meeting and I was like, oh, this is what it is. No, I don't want to be here, right? But then it's too late, because here's the thing. Leadership, like management, it's like the Hotel California. You can check in anytime you want, but you can never leave. I want you to think about this. Once you become a leader, you will be a leader the rest of your life, because once that word manager is on your resume, anywhere you go, because leaders are in short supply, you're gonna be leading somewhere else. So on that note, this leads to a sobering truth, and that is that your success hinges on their motivation. That's your people's motivation. Like, I don't want to say the good old days here, but remember before you were a leader, success just hinged on you. Right? It just hinged on you. You showed up, you worked hard, you did what you needed to do, you had a good attitude, which is why you got promoted, by the way. But it was all about you. But now you can have all those good things, but if your people don't produce, you're not successful, right? Your success hinges on their motivation. Leadership is really everything, as John Maxwell says. And this is why even in the world today, if a sports team starts doing lousy, everyone calls for the coach, right? The leader to be fired or to be replaced. This is a story about a climber named Byron Smith, and he he lived not too far from where I grew up in Canada when I grew up there, and he led a climbing team to Mount Everest back in the 90s. And when he got to the top and he radioed down to, it was being broadcast live to thousands of Canadians, and he was saying, I can't go any further, I'm at the top of the world. Well, at that point there was no one left in base camp. They had all left the team, right? And so it was a case of a leadership breakdown. I'm not going to go into all that, but at the end of the day, leadership makes the difference. So here's what I've learned. There's 3 things you don't want to suck at in life: regulating your emotions, right? Number 2, picking the right life partner. So both of these are workshops in itself. Oh, we're not talking about these today. But number 3, leading people, right? You don't want to suck at leading people. You know why? Because it makes your life worse and it makes their life worse. So a really close friend of mine, he was the music chair at a large university in the United States, here in the United States. And then he got a new boss. And by the way, everyone loved him. He was doing amazing things with the music faculty. This is not a picture of him, by the way. It's just a photo of some symphony. But anyways, a new dean came in, and this dean was a terrible leader. How do I know he's a terrible leader? Because all the other faculties thought so, and he got put up to a non-confidence vote, which he failed, meaning everyone voted in majority that we don't have confidence in you as a leader. Of course, this is academia, so they didn't fire him. But anyways, I remember that time of my friend. I would go over and meet with him like Saturday mornings, and his life, he was stressed. He was feeling all kinds of things, anxiety. All of a sudden, he didn't like his job anymore. He started thinking that maybe he should, try to apply for different universities. Like, his life completely changed because he had a bad boss. Now, I want you to think for a moment. I want you to think back to a time where you've not had a great boss. And maybe you've been lucky and you've always had a good boss in your life. But if you've ever had a boss that wasn't great, how did that make you feel? Do you remember living during that time? How did that make you feel? Go ahead and type that in the chat, because I really want to hear what you guys have to say here. How did that make you feel? Erica says, like giving up. Jonah says, soul-sucking and depressing. Yeah, right? Soul-sucking and depressing. Matt says, discouraging. I'm not sure if you guys can see everyone's comments here. Hopeless. Ouch. That's tough. I didn't want to show up to work. Wanted to look at other opportunities. Yeah, for sure. So look at all these emotions that you guys are typing in here. This is how we feel when we have a bad boss. And I don't know about you. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that boss that makes people's life a living hell. But here's the thing. Leaders have the potential to do that. Now, let's flip this for a minute. We don't want to dwell in negative energy or bring up some past trauma for you if you had an old, bad, narcissistic boss or something. Let's talk about an inspirational boss. Who's a boss that inspired you? I want you to think about them for a moment. How did they make you feel? Right? This isn't even about what you did, but how did they make you feel? Is he empowered, says Stella? I'm motivated. I loved coming to work, says Nancy. Yeah, I loved coming to work. I love that. Empowered, awesome. Motivated, wanted to bring my best. Yeah, so, I mean, again, look at the amazing differences between bad boss and great boss, inspirational boss. So here's the thing. Gallup found that the relationship with a manager, right, that's you, largely determines the length of an employee's stay. And then this one from the Saratoga Institute, that 50% of an employee's happiness at work is directly linked to their relationship with their immediate boss. I don't know about you. No one showed me this when I became a manager, right? Nobody said, oh, and by the way, yeah, here's your pay raise. And now half of the happiness of your former friends is now linked to you. I'd be like, wait, what? Who wants that? I don't want that. I don't want that responsibility. But just because I don't want that responsibility doesn't mean I don't have it, right? Same for you. And then Gallup, this is recent from Gallup, they found that managers account for 70% of the variance in employee engagement scores across business units. So in other words, of all the things that we know that drive employee engagement, 70% of those are within your influence. So the manager who just says, oh, this team, they're just so unmotivated, these are bad hires, that manager who says that just hasn't realized the influence that they actually have, and they're not tapping into it. And so we're going to be talking about some of those things today. So listen, my leadership journey started quite early, actually, right out of college. I was a hard worker. I had a good attitude. Even though I was an introvert, I had a certain amount of charisma. And I was quickly promoted to leading a team. And I think I had like 5 or 6 people on my team. And I was really trying my hardest. And this is me, by the way. This is me digging my own grave after somebody from the future came and told me that I would become a leader. No, I'm just joking, but this is me. I don't know what I'm digging. But anyways, I was leading this team, and it wasn't long before the cracks began to show. And pretty soon my team went to my boss. That's never a good thing, right? My team went to my boss, and we all had this big sit down, and they got a chance to like vent their feelings, and they didn't feel like I cared about them. They didn't feel like I believed in them. They totally felt a distance. They didn't feel a trust. They didn't feel like they trusted me, like all these things. And I was like, what? And they were not enjoying their lives. And I remember at that moment thinking like, oh, this is who wants this, right? Who wants this? But I was just having a pity party. And I realized, wow, I need to change. I need to change as a leader. I need to grow as a leader. Because what happens to us as leaders is we're so busy putting out fires. Our leadership becomes a little bit like this, like playing a game of whack-a-mole, right? I'm just trying to make sure that we're getting everything done. But here's the thing. Great leaders are not born. They are made. So no matter how you came into leadership, understand this. You can be an amazing, inspirational leader, the kind where people want to work for, right? That can be you. And what I'm doing today is I'm giving you a path through all this crazy noise so that you can be that. Now, because here's the thing. I want you to think about this. Wherever you work right now, one day you're going to have your last day. It's either because you're going to retire or because you're going to move on to another opportunity, right? Everyone will have a last day. And on your last day, typically, the work team gets together and they want to share some things. And you want to be thinking, what do I want them to share about me, right? What do I want them to share about me? What kind of leader do I really want to be? Because here's the thing. Inspirational leaders elevate performance. At the end of the day, it's not about being liked. It's not about being someone's friend. It's about elevating performance, but in a way that people actually feel awesome about it. Now, there's some people out there that want to tell you that you don't really have much influence as a leader, right? We see their articles online like, hey, stop trying to motivate people. It won't work. Hey, you can't motivate people. And I'm like, hey, you're not helping. These people who write this, they just don't understand the psychology of motivation. Because here's the thing, not a runner, now you are, right? I'm motivated by the bear. Now, this isn't a good motivation, but here's the thing, not all motivation is created equal. So let me give you an analogy in some ways. And when you get this, it's going to absolutely change how you view leadership. So imagine for a moment that on a given street, there's 3 guys. They all live next to each other. It's Saturday, and every one of them needs to mow his lawn. Neighbor number 1 is the guy on the left. He doesn't want to mow his lawn, but he gets an angry letter from the homeowners association, who knows who those people are, right? But he gets an angry letter saying, if you don't mow your lawn by Monday, you're going to get fined. So he pulls out his mower and he starts mowing his lawn. Well, neighbor number 2 doesn't want to mow his lawn. He's watching college football. But his wife says to him, hey, my mom's coming into town tomorrow. If you mow the lawn, I'll make you your favorite chocolate cake. And now we've incentivized the task with a reward. And so he gets out and he mows his lawn. He doesn't really want to mow the lawn, but he does want the cake. Well, neighbor number 3 loves mowing his lawn. He loves the exercise. He loves the smell of fresh cut grass for whatever reason. And he really loves to stand on the street after and look back and realize that he's done a good job as a neighbor and his place looks great. Now, let me ask you this. Which one does the best job mowing his lawn? Neighbor 1, neighbor 2, or neighbor 3? Go ahead and type that in the chat for me. Neighbor 1, neighbor 2, or neighbor 3? Who does the best job cutting their lawn? Yeah, you guys got it. Neighbor 3, right? It's intuitive. It's obvious. Well, who blows grass all over the sidewalk and doesn't sweep it up? Neighbor 1, neighbor 2. Yeah, neighbor 1. You got it. Neighbor 1. Now, here's what I want you to see, though. In every case, the job got done. The lawn got mowed, but the job wasn't done with the same amount of excellence, right? And you know why? It all has to do with the source of the motivation. You see, if we put motivation on a scale, which it is on a scale, on the far left, we have what's called external motivation, kind of a have-to motivation. Then we move up the chain and up the spectrum. We get to a want-to motivation, and then we get to a get-to motivation, where people just do it because it's inside them to do it. And if once you even just understand this, it'll absolutely change how you view motivation from here on out. Here's the more textbook look of that same thing I just told you, right? Have to motivation, that's like the bear chasing you. Want to motivation, get to motivation. This is where inspirational leadership lives. And the question is, how do I get people here? And how do I keep them here, right? Because when people are motivated on this end of the spectrum, they work harder, they're self-starters, they're more creative, they're more flexible in their thinking, they're better problem solvers. They push on through obstacles before coming to you and surrendering and trying to get help. And this is where we want our people to be. Now, what if I told you there was a framework for creating high-performing and highly engaged teams, right? Would you want it? Would you want a framework that would help you do that? It's the same framework that helped me go from shy, introverted farm kid becoming an effective an inspirational leader, and eventually going on to teach other people about it. And guys, look, I am no one special. And so if this works for me and it's works for thousands of other people, it's going to work for you, right? And it's something called the engagement drivers. Now, what in the world are the engagement drivers? The engagement drivers are actually 9 needs that we have emotionally, psychologically, that we get fulfilled in life and at work. But when they are fulfilled in the workplace, it creates motivation. And they're broken down into 3 different categories. In the blue there, it's the needs of the employee themselves. The green is the needs that they get from the job itself. And the red comes from the needs from the environment within which they work. All of these, by the way, you have influence over. So think of the engagement drivers a little bit like switches. Have you ever been in a breaker panel, like your dishwasher trips the breaker and then everything stops working and you got to go flip the switch again? Engagement's a little bit like that. All right. So let's go ahead and dive in. I'm going to give you a high level overview of these drivers, but then we're going to take one of them and we're going to dive deep and I'm going to give you some really good practical stuff. Okay. Does this make sense? You guys with me so far? You type yes in there. Awesome. Okay, let's jump in. So let's talk about these first 3 needs, the needs with the employee, right? And the first one is the need to be more than a number. Basically, the need to be more than a number. In fact, there's there was a global workforce study done by a consulting firm named Harris Parent. And they asked people, what drives you at work? And the number one response and this was like 90,000 people. So this is a big group. Like, what drives engagement for you most? And what the number one answer was? People said, when senior management takes a genuine interest in me as a person. I want you to think about this for a moment. When senior management takes a genuine interest in me as a person, in other words, I want to be more than a number. And when I'm not, it impacts my motivation. Think about this. This has nothing to do with pay. This has nothing to do with benefits. This has nothing to do with career ladder. This has nothing to do with perks in the parking stalls. Nothing. Number one response. People want to know, am I more than a number here? Right? And so what happens for a lot of managers, though, is we get so busy, right? We're playing whack-a-mole. We're doing 100 different things that we forget the human element. And so what happens is when someone feels like we actually do care about them, it increases the amount of trust that they feel in the relationship and also increases something called reciprocity. Reciprocity is like if I, out of the blue, just gave you a gift, you would probably be surprised, but then you would also feel indebted. You would want to do something back for me. That's the principle of reciprocity. And when people feel like you care about them as a boss, they want to care back. And the way they care back is they don't want to let you down. They want to show up. They want to do the work. They want your life to be easier because you care about them. And it's all about moving your management from transactional to relational. This is not about becoming friends, by the way. It has nothing to do with that. But instead of just always like, hey, Mary, where's the report? And, Sandra, how's the numbers on this? And hey, how come this didn't get sent, right? That's a very transactional. I need. Hey, I'm giving you money and I need this, right? There is a transactional element to work, but there's also the element of, hey, Mary, how is your son Joey's soccer tournament on the weekend? That's relational. That's genuine interest. And we want to make sure that we're doing this as a boss, right? How many of you have had a boss who you felt really cared about you? Like they definitely, you were more than a number. How many people have ever felt that before? Right. And that's important. Think about it this way. If you met somebody who was inspirational and then you found out that they actually just didn't care about you, would they be inspirational to you anymore? I bet not, right? In most cases, I bet not, because this is an important need and a driver for us. All right, let's go on to the second one, the need to grow and develop. This is actually another high driver that drives engagement when people feel like they are being invested in and they are growing, right? The need to grow and develop. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to growth, I'm going to introduce you to something called the 70-20-10 learning model. Now, this is big in the training circles, but basically what the research shows is that 70% of your growth happens because you're actually doing it, right? You're on the job, you got your hands in it, you're trying things out, you're experiencing it. But multipliers to that 70% are mentoring and coaching, right? Mentoring and coaching and education, like classrooms, courses, reading. So for example, right now you would be in a classroom setting, right? You're listening to me, I'm sharing some information. But where you want to come in as a manager is right here, right? You want to help your people find the classroom courses and reading, but then you are the filter. You're the mentor and coach so that they take that information and they go into the workplace, they try it out, they experience it, they come back, report to you, and you continue to guide them. And this is such an important aspect as a leader to make sure that you're coaching your staff. How many people here have ever had a boss who was an amazing coach for them? A great coach and mentor. Who had that? Type yes in the, yeah, absolutely. Right? Now, I'm going to tell you, after working with thousands of managers, let me tell you the two big reasons why more managers don't coach their staff. Number one, they feel like they don't have time because they think it takes a lot of time. And number two, they're not quite sure how, right? They just don't feel like they know how. So they avoid it. But how many here would love it if you had a simple model to follow? Like if you just had a simple coaching model you could plug into, it only just take you a few minutes a week and it would help you become a more effective coach. How many people would like that? Yeah, right. Because coaching is such an essential skill when it comes to being an inspirational boss. Now, we're going to dive deep on this one. This is the third driver of this set, right? And that's the need for recognition and appreciation. The need for recognition and appreciation. So here's the thing. One poll asked people, how can we engage you? And how can we improve engagement? The 58% of people said, hey, just give recognition. Recognition is something we all know. We all know that we should do this. Right? It's kind of like the card that you give your partner on Valentine's. You just know that you should do it, right? But I want you to view recognition differently, because a mistake people make is they just think, yeah, recognition, oh yeah, it's just something I got to do. It's like an afterthought. It's like the gift you buy at the airport on your way home from a business trip, right? And everyone knows you got it at the airport and it just kind of lands flat. That's not what we want. Here's the thing. Recognition does some very powerful things. Number one, it motivates, right? It's a motivator for sure, but that's not the main reason we're going to use it. It is your best tool in your toolkit for shaping behavior and reinforcing culture. I'm not sure if you've ever thought about it in this way, but really your job as a leader, as a manager, it's to shape behavior. Like in a sense, you're renting behavior every day of the people that work for you. Bad behaviors we want to get rid of. Good behaviors we want to see more of them. That's your job, right? Not to minimize it too much because I know it's not easy, but recognition has a huge role to play. So let me share with you something that we've taught to thousands of leaders. Your recognition should be strategic. Again, this is going to be your most powerful thing that you can do. And I want to teach you something called the recognition codes. I won't go into all of this, but we cover this in my program, 9 Minutes on Monday. But I want you to focus right where this red arrow is. So at any given time, you can recognize an achievement, like something they did, a behavior, or a quality, right? Like who they are, something about them. But we're just going to focus on the behavior because this is the one that you will use the most. What you want to do is you want to identify the key behaviors that you need to see from your staff, right? You want to identify those. And when you see them, you want to recognize them. Now, how do we do this? We use specific language, and then we link it. You see on the right side of the page, a little flower looking thing. We're going to link it to an effect, right? Because what we're doing is we have to pair cause and effect with recognition. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to let people know what behavior specifically that we thought was amazing. And then what's the big deal about that? Like, in other words, what was the effect on the company or on people or on you or the team or, possibly them themselves, right? So let me give you an example of how I might do this. I might say, let's say I want our team to be more creative because they're always thinking in the box. I need to get them to think outside the box more, bring me better ideas, right? So we're having a brainstorming meeting and Sarah just throws out this crazy wild idea, right? And it kind of gets the team thinking more flexibly. Well, was that a behavior I want to see more of? Absolutely. So I'm going to go to Sarah after the meeting and say, hey, Sarah, can I chat with you for a minute? Listen, by the way, in the meeting, when you throw out that like really wild and crazy idea, did you see what that did to the rest of the team? It unlocked their thinking and everyone actually began to have better ideas because you led the way with that. And now I can tack on great job if I want, right? At the end, because great job is that like generic phrase that often we use all the time, but now I can tack that on the end. But what did I just do? I want you to think about this. What did I just do? It's actually something very powerful. The next time we have a meeting, what's Sarah thinking? It's okay to be creative. It's okay to throw out a wild idea. It's okay to do that. I have just shaped behavior. So here's what I want you to think about. I want you to list, obviously, not right now, but when you get done this, list a few key behaviors that you need your team to demonstrate consistently, right? If you just list those behaviors out and now make it a goal that you're going to start just looking for them and recognizing them. Use that formula I just gave you, right? Whatever it is the behavior how they handled their emotion? Is the behavior how they contributed at a meeting? Is it how they managed to take on someone's work to help them out when they were done their own? Is it how they engaged with the customer? Is it how they calmed down an angry person that wasn't happy, right? Whatever it is, what's the behavior list? Because it actually will be a lot. But what are the key ones? What are the key ones that drive your ultimate results? That's what you want to recognize, right? And also something else you can do if you're having troubles with this is you can also make a things you don't want to see list. Because often as leaders, it's so easy for us to see what needs to get fixed, right? So what's a bad behaviors list? So write that bad behaviors list. And then what's the opposite of those bad behaviors? Well, then that's your list. That's the list of other things that you want to recognize. Okay. Does this make sense, everyone? Just type yes in the comments if this makes sense for you. Right? So again, key behaviors, and then use those recognition codes and go and recognize it. Here's the thing. How long does this take? Less than 15 seconds. And yet when you go to somebody and you give them recognition that's specific and linked to an effect, it's so meaningful to people that chances are sometime later on that evening, when they're at home passing the corn and the potatoes, they're going to make the statement, hey, guess what my boss said to me at work today? And they're going to tell their family. And that's where I always think, wow, who are we, right? Who are we that our words count for so much, but they do. This is what inspirational leaders do. Now, I want you to imagine for a moment that every week you're coming in and you're just doing these three, right? You're making sure that people know that you actually care about them as people, right? Even though you guys have a job to do, they know you care. Secondly, you are coaching them, right? You're helping them get better. You are following certain processes to coach on the fly. And then thirdly, you're consistently recognizing the key behaviors. If you just did those three, you think that's going to make a difference with your team? You think your team is going to start to show up in a greater way? Do you think they're going to start to pull closer to you, to trust you more, to be influenced by you more, to be reciprocal more? Do you think they're going to increase that? Yeah, right. This is so powerful. I mean, we've seen thousands of managers begin to make these changes, and then all of a sudden, people are so surprised what begins to happen with their team. It just takes us being intentional. Okay, those are those first three. I took a little bit longer on those, but let's go ahead and we're going to continue on here, because the next three engagement drivers actually have to do with inspirational work. In other words, how do we get the job to be inspiring in itself? And is that even possible? Well, these next three needs, a good way for you to remember them is actually this. If you just remember this, I'm telling you, this is going to serve you your whole leadership life. Every one of your employees, they need a mountain to climb, a reason to climb it, and enough rope to hang themselves along the way, right? So a mountain to climb, a reason to climb it, and enough rope to hang yourself along the way. These are the drivers of achievement, purpose, and autonomy. These are so important in the workplace because it's these three needs that actually make the job itself come alive. When people, let's just talk through really quick through each of these. When people have goals, a mountain to climb. So what happens in a lot is that employees actually don't have specific goals, or they have a goal, but it's a quarter goal or an annual goal, and there's no milestones that are along the way. There's no milestones that are being measured. But this is an important process in the motivation, right? The psychology of motivation for people. Everyone needs a mountain to climb. How do you know if they have a mountain to climb? If you can give them feedback on progress. I want you to just think of one employee right now. Just think of one of your direct reports. Could you go after this webinar and sit down with them and say, hey, I want to have a chat with you about your progress? Would that be an odd conversation? Because you can't have that conversation unless there is a map already laid out. Here's the goals we're going after. Here's the metrics. Let's take a look at your progress. If you can't give them feedback on progress, they're not on a mountain. They're on a treadmill. You got to get them on a mountain to climb. All right. And then once they have a mountain to climb, that instantly creates motivation. But then the next part of that is a reason to climb it, connecting purpose to pay, right? We need our employees to feel that and see and connect that they're part of something bigger. And it's our role to remind them of that from time to time. And then, of course, autonomy. Who wants a micromanaging boss? Nobody, right? At least no one you want working for you wants a micromanaging boss. So it's making sure that people feel like they have the freedom, the autonomy, and that we're supporting that. When you are doing all these three things, what happens is you're going to swing over to the right-hand side of the motivation scale. And it's here, again, like I told you, this is where people are more engaged. This is where they're more inspired. Okay, so let's imagine, let's layer this in now. In addition to those first three things you're doing, you're also, your team, they're showing up and they know they have mountains to climb. They feel really purposeful with their work. They know that what they're doing makes a difference. And they also love the fact that they have the freedom to do what they need to do. How many of you personally love being in that kind of environment, right? Yeah, obviously. But if if these things were being felt by your team, can you see how this would make a massive difference in just motivation, engagement levels? Right? Yeah, it's so powerful. All right, now we don't have a lot of time left, so let's quickly visit these last three. These last three drivers have to do with the environment, right? And making the environment inspirational. And this has to do with the team, like the team dynamic, making sure that it's psychologically safe, and the need to play and create. In other words, it can't be all business. There's got to be at least be able to have some fun there. And lastly, and maybe most importantly, a need for a model to follow. Now, I have interviewed people in my workshops, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, asking them about inspirational leaders that have been in their lives. And then I said, what did this inspirational leader do? And common thing to everyone was they set some kind of an example, right? They set some kind of an example. And when a leader is intentional about their example, you see what happens, the times we're bad examples as bosses, and we've all been there. I've been there, right? Many times. The times that we're not good examples is when we have stopped being intentional about our example. Because who wants to purposely be a bad example, right? Nobody. Well, maybe there's a few evil ones out there, but none of you, because you're here in a learning environment, right? But here's the 9 drivers altogether. The need to be more than a number, the need to grow, the need to be recognized, right? That's inspired employees. The need for achievement, purpose, autonomy. That's how we create inspiring work. The need to connect, have fun, have a model to follow. This is how we create an inspiring environment. If you are consistently meeting these needs with your staff, I'm telling you, you will have the most motivated and bought in and productive team in your entire organization. You will definitely be on the radar of upper management when they see the results that you're pulling, right? Now, here's the thing, though. I'm telling you this stuff, and this makes sense. I know it does, right? It makes sense to you. It's intuitive. But then you're also thinking, well, some of you might be thinking, yeah, but I already have a lot on my plate. Like there's so many things I got to do. And you just layered in 9 things I've got to do. Well, here's what I've learned. More than a knowledge problem, we have an execution problem. I learned this lesson every New Year's when I think, okay, I need to get in shape. I know how to get in shape. I don't have a knowledge problem. I often have an execution problem. And again, because this is how some of you feel like your life is. But let me show you how we help people implement these 9 drivers. Would you like to see that? I mean, it's so embarrassingly simple, yet profoundly powerful. Want me to show you how we get people to busy managers to actually do these drivers? Well, it has to do with something that we use in the mountains when we climb. It's a fixed line. So what happens is a guide will go up, a more experienced guide. They'll take a rope with them. They'll tack it into the rock up there or maybe in the ice. And then we all, because we meaning the amateur climbers, will just clip in with this little tool. And then we just follow the rope, right? If we just follow the rope, we're going to get to the top. And so what happens is the rope is really a system. It's a simple system. And when you have a simple system, and it involves just taking tiny steps because we don't have the energy for big steps. And we continue to do that over time. This is where the magic happens. Now, let me give you the simplest of systems. It's something called the Monday morning ritual. So when we're taking managers through our program, what we're doing is we're teaching them this Monday morning ritual. It's really simple. And basically, when they come into the office on Monday morning, before they get into their email, before they get to their to-do list, they're sitting down and they're just asking themselves 9 questions. And each question relates to one of these drivers. And they're going to make a micro commitment on each one, right? Not a macro commitment because they don't have time, but a micro commitment. And what happens is this makes them intentional, and they create micro goals, which ends up using some tools that we teach them. And then all of a sudden, everything begins to change. Robin O'Hearn says 2 years later, and this is still one of the most powerful tools that I use. Here's a VP of HR. She said, I implemented 9 minutes on Monday. That's this Monday thing that I'm telling you about. And she said, as a result, the HR department transitioned from being very good to being great. Those are actually engagement scores, right? She goes, my relationships with my employees flourished, and productivity increased more than I would have ever expected. This tool is user-friendly, takes less than 10 minutes, and produces results, right? Like I said, embarrassingly simple, yet profoundly effective. How many of you would love it if you could just come into work on Monday, even though you got a big week ahead of you, but you're able to sit down and have a simple ritual to go through that would guarantee that you're going to be a more effective leader? How many would love if you had something like that? And then all you had to do is just follow the path. How many would love having something like that? Well, let me show you the difference this has made in some companies. This was a hospital that called us and they were hurting. Their engagement scores were in the 21st percentile. We got all their managers to start using this ritual on Monday morning so they could implement the engagement drivers. And 8 months later, and this is a big ship to turn, like 3,000 employees, they had doubled their engagement scores, doubled them. Their high performing teams went from 14 to 25. Here's a manufacturing company, and they were only hitting 68% of their sales goals. We got their managers just to start following this simple ritual. And 3 months later, they're hitting 98% of their sales goals. You see, you just have to trust the process. And when you do, amazing things happen. So to increase staff engagement, motivation, and morale, you have to tap into the engagement drivers. But I'm telling you, the 9 Minutes on Monday leadership framework is the key to implementing those drivers. Now, as we start to wrap things up here, let me just ask you, do you feel like our time on the webinar has been well spent here? Yes or no? Just type that in the chat. Yes. Awesome. Do you feel more clear of where you need to focus in the coming days to increase the passion and work ethic of your team just by what we covered? Yes or no? Yes, 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 yes. Awesome. Can you see how just one or two things I showed you today can help you become a more inspirational boss? Yes, absolutely. And the reality, if you could just use a tiny fraction of all we've covered today, don't you feel that you've taken a leap forward in your ability to lead your staff more effectively? Right on. That is awesome. I'm glad to hear that because, hey, that's why we're here, right? So let me get to the thing I told you about at the beginning that was a bit of a surprise, right? That I had something for you actually. So here's the thing. I've gone all over the country, spoken in big stages, spoken in small stages, gone into companies, and I've been teaching people how to implement these 9 drivers. But the challenge is I can't get everywhere, right? I can't get to everyone. And so what I did was I took this entire framework and I put it into a program that spans 10 to 12 weeks, depending on how you do it. That's simple to use, and it's called 9 Minutes on Monday. Right? It's a proven program to transform your busy managers into inspirational leaders who produce results. And if you want to hear more about this and how this can help you become a more inspirational leader, then stick around for the next 5 minutes and I'm going to walk you through this plus something really cool that I don't usually do that I have for you. But if you don't want to hear this, that's totally fine. Then this would be, your exit point for the webinar, and certainly excited that you're here today. And thanks for coming. And let's stay in touch. Now, but for those of you who are here though, and you want to know more about how 9 Minutes on Monday can help you become a more effective and inspirational boss, let me share with you how this program works. Over a 10 to 12 week period, what we do is we walk through these engagement drivers, right? First, I'm going to show you how to create inspired employees. We're going to tap into the psychological drivers that motivate people to fully engage. And so here, you're going to increase the level of trust and engagement almost immediately. Like literally within the first 14 days, you're going to notice that. You're going to inspire your staff by getting them on a path of growth and development. And you're going to create high-performing behaviors through strategic reinforcement, right? And then after we do that, we're going to move on to the next 3 drivers. And that has to do with inspirational work, right? Here's where we turn the job into a source of intrinsic motivation itself. You're going to learn how to tap into the intrinsic motivation sources within your staff so that they're self-starters. You're going to light a fire under your employees by connecting purpose to pay, and you're going to empower them to take ownership and initiative. Then we'll move into the last 3 drivers in the last part of the course. And finally, we create a high-performance environment, leveraging the final 3 drivers of engagement. Here, you're going to foster an environment of psychological safety to bring out the best in your team. You're going to learn how to do that and have all the tools to be able to do that. You're going to create a high-performing work culture that pulls the best effort out of your staff and strategically model the way so your leadership lights the path for your employees, right? We're going to walk through all of those, and you're going to have the framework to follow, and then you just have to take the steps, take the tiny steps, use the tools, and you're going to notice a huge difference in the engagement levels of your team. Melody Moore said, 9 Minutes on Monday was the first leadership course we found that provided a simple to use formula for increasing engagement and productivity. In addition to the course, you're going to get implementation calls. Once a month, there's group coaching calls for those who are in the program. So this is a chance for you to jump on a Zoom meeting with other managers and me who are going through the program and get extra help, ask other questions. Sometimes people have specific questions, and we go through those and we help you stay on track, and I help you make sure that you're dealing with any things, right? This is all included, by the way, in 9 Minutes on Monday. So 9 Minutes on Monday, you can go to my website, you can buy it anytime you want, and it will cost you $997. And it's a fantastic investment at $997. But I'm not going to charge you that because I've got something really special to offer you. But here's the thing. If I did charge you $997, as many people pay that, and if all it did was help your team become the top performing team in your company, putting you on the radar of senior management, would that be worth $997? Yeah, absolutely it would, right? Or if all it did was led to you getting promoted with a nice pay raise, would that be worth $997? Yeah, for sure. Probably within the first 6 months, right? And more so throughout your career. Or if all it did was help you feel more confident in leading your employees so that leadership was actually a joy and not a source of stress, would that be worth $997? For sure. It was worth $997 to these managers, right, who moved their sales goals from 68 to 98%. Here's just thousands of managers who've gone through this program and just have glowing praise for how much it's helped them become more inspiring as a leader. But today you're in the right place at the right time, because instead of $997, I have a special offer for you. Instead of $997, you can get 9 Minutes on Monday for $497. In fact, if you even want to split that into payments to make this even easier for you, you can split that into 3 payments of only $169. You can get started for only $169. Now, if you would love to be involved in 9 Minutes on Monday, let me just pull up a link here. If you have your chat window open, I'm going to put it in there right now. Okay, you should see that. Now you don't have to click there because I got some awesome stuff coming. I got some cool bonuses for you that I want to throw in here. But at any time, click on that button you should see it now that's popped up in the chat. And if not, you can always go to jamesrobbins.co/9, jamesrobbins.co/9. But here's the thing, right? As Carlton Sylvie, he's a mid-level manager. He says this has to be the best overall leadership development concept ever created. I have 3 massive bonuses for you. So here's the thing. The first bonus is something called the 7-Minute Coach. And here's the thing. A key part of being an inspirational leader is coaching your staff. But you also don't have a lot of time, which is why the 7-Minute Coach is perfect for you. It is a step-by-step coaching model to help you coach your employees so they can reach their full potential under your leadership. It's going to allow you to implement a proven coaching model in literally minutes a week. It's going to help you identify opportunities for growth for your direct reports, and it's going to take the guesswork out of coaching your staff, right? We've seen so many managers learn this methodology and start coaching their staff the very next day. So just imagine for a moment, your staff members look forward to your coaching because it helps them tap into higher levels of performance, and that makes them feel great. Now, I sell this on my website. You can go buy this for just under $300, but I'm giving it to you for free, right? You're going to get it for free. I'm going to toss in this 7-minute coaching program when you jump into 9 minutes on Monday, right? You see the button there in the chat, or you go to jamesrobbins.co/9, not .com, but .co. Okay. All right. Now, I got something else for you. Leading remote teams. This is a program called Leading from a Distance. Okay. So anyone here have employees who are remote? Do you guys have any remote employees? In this post-COVID world, this has become a reality for many. And remote teams bring an extra dimension of challenge, which is why you need to master this. So leading from a distance shows you how to inspire your staff, manage performance, and boost productivity when your team is working remotely. It's going to show you how to keep your team engaged when they don't work in the office, a simple process for managing communication so that your staff stays in tune and in touch, and the best practices for tracking off-site employee performance, right? Now imagine for a moment that all of your team, whether remote or hybrid, they have this uncanny connection and this sort of synchronicity. And it's all because of your leadership working behind the scenes with what you're going to learn in this bonus program on leading remote teams. Now, this sells for $397, almost $400. But guess what? You're going to get it for free. I'm going to include this with this special because I really want to set you up for success so that you have everything you need. Now, finally, I have a fast action bonus, right? This is a fast action. What's a fast action bonus? A fast action bonus is when people take action quickly, like today. And one of the things that holds managers back and teams back is they mishandle difficult conversations. They either avoid them or they mishandle them. And it's this huge source of drama and headache. But what if you had a framework that would let you easily and confidently step into these difficult conversations so you didn't dread them anymore, right? So you knew what to say. You knew what to say if this conversation went sideways. You knew what to say if they end up going, this way. Well, that's what you're going to get with one of my most popular programs, The Art of Difficult Conversations. It gives you simple strategies to remove the stress of dealing with problem behavior so that your team's performance will not be hindered by one employee's attitude. You're going to learn how to deal with the 3 most difficult conversations in the workplace, how to address tough and sensitive issues without the other person becoming defensive and difficult, and how to protect your team from morale-busting behavior. Now, we've had so many people just love this training. Imagine when the next awkward or difficult situation comes up and everyone on your team, they see it. It's like the elephant in the room, but you handle it no problem because you have the tools, and everyone on your team watches with amazement as you deal with this difficult situation confidently and correctly. And let me tell you, folks, that's inspiring in itself. Well, you can go on my website. You can buy this for $400. Again, it's a very popular course, but I'm going to include it for free. But this is a fast action bonus. So basically, it only works if you get 9 minutes on Monday today. Then you will also get The Art of Difficult Conversations as a fast action bonus. All right. So here's the thing. If we add all this up, that's over $2,000 in training programs to help you become an inspirational leader. But you're going to get it for $497. And just to make this a no-brainer for you, by the way, here's somebody, a manager who just wrote in. I didn't even know who they were. They just said, "Thank you with all my heart for this fantastic training, 9 minutes on Monday." Every manager in every city, in every country should have this insightful, inspiring training, right? She just felt compelled to tell me that. Or this manager from the city of New Brunswick said, "This changed me as a leader." And hey, just to make this like a no-brainer for you, when you take advantage of this special that I'm offering you at jamesrobbins.co/9, or click on the link in the chat, whether it's 29 minutes from now or 29 days from now, if you're not happy, then I'm not happy. And if for any reason or no reason you want your money back, all you have to do, send us an email and say, "Hey, I want a refund. It's not working for me." And within 24 hours, it will be processed and sent to you. And here's the thing. A person can only make an unconditional guarantee like this when they're really confident that what they have is the real deal. And I am confident that when you start to put these things into practice, you're getting exactly what you need to be the kind of leader that everyone wants to work for. All right. And again, I told you earlier, I'm no one special. I'm this shy, introverted farm kid. But I use these engagement drivers because they're backed by science and research. It's the human condition. And because of that, it's helped me become a more inspirational leader. Now, leadership's a little bit like this, right? This is the Khumbu ice fall in Everest. And every year the ice doctors have to plan the route, a new route through the ice fall, because it changes all the time. And is it difficult? Yes, it is, right? Now, can someone climb Everest on their own? Well, they could. I mean, they could chart their own path through here, but it's a lot easier just to follow the path that's already been set up for them, right? And that's why I said, is this hard? Yes. Can you do it yourself? Yes, you can. But what if another 6 months go by and you're not consistently doing these things, right? Where maybe some of your peers are, and the way they begin to lead, the way their teams begin to function, and yours don't, right? But here's the thing: you have a choice. You can go it alone, do this yourself without any help, or plug into a proven framework that helps you to become a more inspirational leader and quickly, right? So if you would like to do that, again, here is where you go. All of this for $497. And you can just click on that or click on the button there, and you get all of these programs that I mentioned as well. There's also a QR code if you want to scan it. It'll still take you to the right place. Some people, they get here and they're like, well, hey, what's the catch? What's the catch on this? It sounds like too good to be true. Well, there is one catch. And that one catch is that this expires Friday, right? This expires Friday. So would love to see you in 9 minutes on Monday. Again, there's that fast action bonus. Did you jump in today? You can jump in for only $169 and split that into payments. Just go to the website there and jump in. And I would love to see you in one of the implementation calls as we continue to grow in our leadership and for you to become a more effective and more inspirational leader. So listen, I realize we've gone a bit over time and we're going to have to cut things there. But listen, everyone, thanks so much for being here today. For those of you that stayed on to the end here to hear more about 9 minutes on Monday, again, thousands of managers have now gone through this, and we would love to see you go through 9 minutes on Monday as well. Hey, it's James Robbins here. Again, thanks for being here, and chat soon.